Okay, so I was about to record a Chelsea transfer news video. I had stories lined up such as Lunin, the Real Madrid Ukrainian goalkeeper, Andres Pereira, Nico Williams, and then literally as I was about to press record, I was thinking, let me just check the news once over very quickly, make sure there's no updates. And there's a whole Matt Law of the Telegraph, I believe, article being published, and um, yeah, basically he's rubbished all of those stories, but I thought, why don't we talk about them? I will talk about them as I was going to, and but then read what he's been saying because he's obviously a lot more reputable than the journalists that were coming out saying these weird transfers that hadn't had any links prior to Chelsea. So, let me get my notes up. What I was originally I was gonna say about Lunin. There were reports from Spain saying Lunin, the Ukrainian Real Madrid backup goalkeeper who had to stand in last season and was very highly rated by the Real Madrid fans. Actually, he helped them win that the league in the end and pushed in the Champions League. Although he did stink it up in the Euros a little bit, there were reports saying that he was actually close to joining Chelsea out of absolutely nowhere. And to me, it didn't make much sense because he's not a ball playing goalkeeper um, like Enzo Maresca and all the that we've been seeing links to and rumors that we need a new ball playing goalkeeper. And also the rumors before had said that Chelsea are not going to look for a new goalkeeper and choose Robert Sanchez and then Petrovic as the backup. And I looked at his ball playing numbers. Short passing's good, but it's a small sample sizes at Real Madrid. They don't really. He's not going to be the one creating the chances because they've got players such as Vinicius, Bellingham, Cruz. I don't even need to mention anymore. And then I compared his stats to Rob Sanchez and Kepa Arrizabalaga, and interestingly, they were basically identical. So I was thinking this is probably nonsense because I think he will want to leave Real Madrid. Real Madrid will want him to leave, get a bit of money for their backup goalkeeper because they've got Thibaut Courtois, the best goalkeeper in the world, when he is fully fit. And I wrote down probably nonsense, and this is going to work quite well actually. I'll read my original notes to highlight you in, fill you in on the news, but then get the updated article. Apparently, according to Matt Law, 6 minutes ago, in the past 24 hours, Chelsea have decided that they will enter the market for a goalkeeper this summer, but not to replace Robert Sanchez. They're in the market for a goalkeeper who may start on the bench before being given the chance to push Sanchez for a starting spot. And this is the breaker is that, I don't know. Chelsea are looking to sign a goalkeeper to push Robert Sanchez, but he name dropped Lunin is not the profile they are looking for. So I said probably nonsense, and it is looking like nonsense. They're probably trying to stir up a transfer rumor because I think international journalists will know if you link your player to Chelsea, there will be a lot of more interest because I don't know, we just signed a lot of players. Next up, this actually is viable and has had a lot of transfer rumours. I don't think we've seen anything about Fabrizio or David Ornstein yet. They're the real gold mines. But N'Golo Kante could be on his way to West Ham. He has only spent one season at El Ittihad, I believe, one of the Saudi clubs. After we let him go on a free last season, we kind of let him go for free so that he'd have the freedom of choosing his next destination. And because he was a legend, really. And no one was really upset to see him leave because the injury struggles were very frustrating near the end, although he was really key to that Champions League win in the end. Apparently, Julian Lopetegui and West Ham are interested in bringing N'Golo Kante back to the Premier League and England and London specifically. And after he performed well in the Euros, they believe that he could have a spot in their starting lineup next season in the Premier League, and they didn't get Europe this season. He's 33 years old, and I mean it's not Chelsea news really, but it would be a bit frustrating to see Kante go to a London rival. But if that's what he wants in the end, fair enough. It would be quite nice to see him back in the Premier League. I wouldn't be against him going to West Ham, to be honest. To see him on Sky Sports or whatever to watch a game of football and N'Golo Kante is playing, because I just don't watch Saudi football because I have zero interest in it. Yeah, so maybe it would be quite nice. He's 33 years old. However, he is going to be on humongous wages out in Saudi Arabia, and I doubt West Ham will be able to afford that. I reckon it's like over 400k a week. I think he was on 300k a week at Chelsea. So they're not going to be able to afford what Saudi are paying him. So maybe this won't end up happening. Thirdly, though, Andreas Pereira, the Brazilian midfielder playing for Fulham. He's spent 2 years there since his move from Manchester United. He's 28 years old, and he's a good player. He doesn't start for Brazil's international team. He comes off the bench, made a few substitute appearances in the Copa America, but he's a very good player, Andreas Pereira. And I think now that they've sold João Palhinha to Bayern Munich, he'll probably be thinking, oh, I'm 28 now, I'm probably in my prime, if not past my prime. He was a failure at Manchester United, to be honest, but got his chance for Fulham and has taken it. And yeah, he's a good player. Maybe he'll be thinking he wants a bigger move coming up. I don't think he's ever played in Europe, unless he came off the bench a few Manchester United games, but that doesn't really count because he never really made his career at Manchester United. And yeah, Chelsea are apparently, according to Brazilian reports, Chelsea were interested in bringing Andreas Pereira as a replacement for Conor Gallagher. Now, this didn't make too much sense either. I was thinking maybe our new signing Tosin Adarabioyo, he could have spoken to Sport Director and been like, by the way, when I was at Fulham, Andreas Pereira in training every day, he was top class, different gravy to everyone else, and I would recommend signing him, but it's completely up to you. And apparently it would cost in the region of 30 to 35 mil, so similar to Dewsbury Hall. But he is 28 years old. He doesn't really fit in that 25 and under bracket, although we are starting to, thankfully, break that rule. Not a rule, but like we set a restraint ourselves, but it just ends up with a completely inexperienced squad, which doesn't work, as we saw last season. But Matt Law has also said reports from Brazil, 11 minutes ago, reports from Brazil over interest in Andreas Pereira is thought to be wide of the mark, which is what I wrote. I wrote down probably nonsense. Not maybe nonsense, I wrote probably nonsense, because Brazilian journalists, they tend to make things up sometimes, and it doesn't make much sense. Andreas Pereira to Chelsea, it came out of nowhere. Same with Lunin. Some of these are sometimes too good to be true, and Matt Law is in and around Chelsea a lot, and he is informed by the club, by agents, and yes, it's interesting to see that he has said those links are thought to be wide of the mark. I'm just reading more. Apparently Fabrizio Romano said 9 minutes ago, this is crazy, this is out live transfer news. Fabrizio Romano 9 minutes ago said Real Madrid have not received any approach from Chelsea for Andre Lunin so far. The only topic discussed between the clubs is about Kepa, who's given total priority to Real Madrid in case Lunin leaves. So even Fabrizio Romano now has said that a move to Chelsea from Real Madrid for Andre Lunin is not close, considering despite that's what it originally was looking like. But like I said, Matt Law said Chelsea will decide. Chelsea have decided after a couple of weeks of training. Obviously, I think this is probably the second week back from training. They will enter the market for a goalkeeper this summer, but not to replace Rob Sanchez. So could we see a Petrovic loan, maybe, or maybe even a Petrovic sale? We signed him for £13 million. He performed pretty well. I'm sorry, but you can't drill in that sort of footballing, passing ability that Enzo Maresca wants his goalkeepers to do. You can't just train them that much, because Petrovic is not good with his feet whatsoever. So maybe we sell him for £20 million. He had a good season. Maybe a club like West Ham would want him because he's a good shot stopper, as we saw last season. But he's not really gonna. That may make sense. I'm sure he'll get interest, Petrovic, because he had a good season. What are we saying on the video? It's almost 10 minutes and we got a few more stories to go. So the next one up was Mark Gue. We signed £5 million from Barcelona, a striker, 18 years old. According to multiple reports, after a couple of days of training with the Chelsea squad, Enzo Maresca has decided and suggested that maybe a loan may be required, because he's not quite up to standard to be starting in his Chelsea side. And maybe if he was on the bench and rotating with Jackson, maybe that would hinder his progression, because he's a young player and he should be playing every game, week in, week out. Sevilla and I can't remember the other team now. Was it Villarreal? Some other Spanish team. They were both interested in getting Mark Ryu in on loan, and it does kind of make sense because I think he's too big of a name and on too big of wages really to push him into the development squad, and maybe he was obviously a long-term target for, not a long-term target, but a target, a transfer with long-term in mind. 5 million euros or whatever it was, £5 million for a 18-year-old highly rated striker is obviously looking, the fruition is hopefully going to come in years to come, and hopefully one loan or maybe even two loans time he can come back and maybe then push for a start. Next up, penultimately, Patrick Vieira has left Strasbourg after 1 year in charge. I do feel bad for Strasbourg fans. But the Chelsea owners, Bluco, bought their club, gave him Vieira as manager, didn't perform that well, gave him a few players. They were protesting about it. They were performing pretty badly, to be honest, at the start of the season. Ended up 10 points above relegation, I believe, and in 13th, which is decent. They're pushing for Europe this season, and Chelsea or Bluco have sacked their manager. Probably unpopular. Bluco want a possession-based manager such as Enzo Maresca, because he just signed for Chelsea, but a possession-based manager to go in and manage Strasbourg, so we could loan, like last season we loaned out André Santos and Angelo, but if this season we want a possession-based manager so we can loan them out so that when they come back they will know what they'll be doing, because last season we kind of loaned them out to like a struggling Ligue 1 side, whereas this season they should be dominating games, having 70% possession every game. It's very different, and that's why I don't think we got rid of Mark Robinson in the under-21s, but he's gone to Burton Albion, taking a few players with him, such as Dylan Williams, Charlie Webster, and Coelho, a Portuguese possession-based manager, has replaced him as the under-21s manager. So I'm sure Maresca, the sporting directors, and Coelho and the new Strasbourg manager will be all in touch, giving each other ideas and little tweaks in games and possession drills to build up this big branch of football club chains that we're trying to do apparently. Now lastly, the story was about Nico Williams. It was last night, basically just to get him on the thumbnail, because I knew no one would click on a loon into Chelsea video. But it is actual news. Fabrizio Romano said last night that Nico Williams is not over yet for English clubs. Barcelona want him the most, and his preference would be to stay in Spain, I imagine. He's obviously best friends with Lamine Yamal. We've seen that during the Euros, and he plays for Barcelona. Yamal starts for Spain on the right, Williams starts for Spain on the left, and then they have, I think ideally they would have Pedri and Gavi, but they had to kind of go with Olmo and Fabian Ruiz, which they won the Euros anyway in the end. And then you've got Balde, who would start for Spain. You've got Carvajal, but I'm sure Spain have a decent... Who's Barcelona's right back? I don't know. Basically, Barcelona kind of want to replicate what Spain have, as it was successful during the Euros. They won the Euros, and the chemistry between Lamine Yamal and Nico Williams was clear to see, and Barcelona won that for themselves, but it will be financially difficult. He has quite a low release clause, about £50 million, I believe, which for his sort of calibre of a player is crazy cheap, but as it's a release clause, they want it all up front, which is, I think, financially not viable for Chelsea or Arsenal, let alone Barcelona, so they'll need to work their way around it. However, I don't think he's desperate to leave Atletico Bilbao at the moment, because I remember halfway through the Euros there were lots of links for him to move away and he was getting questioned, and I remember he specifically said, I don't know why there's been so many links all of a sudden. I had a good season at Bilbao last season. He plays there with his brother and he's happy there. He's on a lot of wages. I don't think he said that in the interview, but he's getting paid a lot of money there, He's happy there. I don't think he's desperate to leave, and although there's a lot of links with him moving away, I don't think he will 100% leave this summer. I think I can imagine him at Barcelona, but we know it is financially difficult for them to sign him, and maybe Chelsea will wait in the wings. They'll show them the magic PowerPoint, show him and his agents the magic PowerPoint, say you'll be playing alongside Cucurella. We've got a lot of young players like you, like you. He's Spanish as well, but like yourself, a lot of young talented players that we're trying to build towards the future. We're trying to create this huge project where we're going to take over the world in football, not just Chelsea, but other clubs such as Strasbourg and hopefully a Portuguese team. I don't know what's the updates on that are, but yeah, maybe he'll be like, you know what, Barcelona Champions League football. I don't know if Bilbao got Europe. Arsenal were interested in me. They have Champions League football, but I'm sure Chelsea will be getting it. If not this season, it will be a failure. But in the near future, Chelsea will be back in the Champions League, because that is kind of a breaker for a lot of players. Let me just read the last few updates, see if there's any more updates on Chelsea. Apologies for because I was a bit annoyed. I had planned this video out. I was waiting for the right time to strike. Last minute checks. And there's a whole thing rubbishing just the Andres Pereira and Lunin thing. No, I believe that's it all for today. Thank you very much for watching. Comment your thoughts on the stories below. I want to get big conversations in the comment sections. Thank you for the support recently. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you want to be updated or notified every time I make one of these Chelsea transfer news videos. Thank you very much for watching again, and have a good day.